Right, just going to share a quick video on how to set up the MK Cypher backtester. So on the screen here, we've got the backtester at the bottom and the trades displayed on the price chart. We've got the oscillator in the middle just for visuals, and this has already been set up with the settings that we're going to create. So the first thing I do is go into the properties tab, and I like to go with 100 and 100 and then none, and that will give me the raw percent gain as opposed to compounded. I want to set the commission 0.01 for Binance in and out. As you see, it affects the net profit. I'm going to add some slippage. Happy with 5, again affects the net profit. So let's go into the actual settings. First thing I want to do is create a buy chart. Once I have my settings for buys, I will then create a separate chart for sells. First setting you want to play around with is the ATR. I'm going to create a strategy here which uses quite a small TP, low risk, hopefully have a high percent profitability and a very low drawdown, so you can apply some leverage. But it doesn't mean you can't go with a high multiplier and a high R&R. You still get very good results. So we've got 12, 1, 1, 1. These are the two take profits, risk to reward, 1 and 1. I've selected 1 and 1 because I only want one TP in this instance. So you just need to make sure that your first exit is 100% and leave the second as 100%. If you're wanting to have 2 TPs, just make sure it's something like this. And then you take 50% out on the first and the rest out on the second. Typically at the end, I'll play around with this to see if I can push any more profit out of the strategy. The script works on intra-candle data, so we can have our exits on once per bar close. So your stop loss won't be hit on a wick, it will wait for it to close. On a high time frame, you get better results like this. A lower time frame, it's worth playing around with both, but you can just, jump between the two. You can see it's significantly better when we go once per bar. Some instances your drawdown will go up, but the net profit is too high to ignore. So that's what we're going to use for this setup. Let's go back to the top. These are our confirmations, and this is our trade entry. In a moment, it's on SSL. We're going to do %R. We're on a 2-hour chart for Ethereum on Binance. This here allows the user to dictate how many candles we're willing to wait for all of the confirmations to turn bullish or bearish after our main entry is triggered. This can be anything. For this instance, I know the settings, it's going to be around 12. We've got 6 confirmations here. If you want to lose one, untick, lose our data, scroll down to 5, our data's back. You can then go on to say, I only want 3 of the 5 to trigger for my entry. So lots of options there. Let's turn that back on. And this one here allows the user to dictate whether they want to take a trade if you're in a squeeze. And the squeeze is here, obviously the purple bars. We're going to leave that on for now. Here are the settings for the oversold red and green dot entries. We're not using that today. That's the setting for it there, so we can ignore these. And we're down to the actual settings for the rest of the confirmation. So the first one's the MK oscillator. The first time frame needs to be the same or greater than the current or the chart time frame. So that should be 2 or above. Four, 8, 12, 16. Normally have these two the same to start, and then I'll play around with them at the end to see if I can get more out of the net profit. But for this instance, I know the settings. One little thing I like to do is just go up to day, see if it improves it. It didn't, so I probably don't want to go any higher than 16 on this one. Let's check out the VWAP. stayed the same. So I'm happy with that. Then we're on to SSL. Typically start around 10 to 15 and then move on. MFI settings 30 to 60. You can go higher and lower, it just all depends. I like to start on 30 or 60. Then we've got the ADX. I like to leave this one to the end because it has a huge bearing on the outcome. So then we'll go on and play around with our actual trade entry, which is the percent R. And I typically just scroll down to the bottom. Yeah, scroll up quite high. Get a feel for it. Net profit went down because there's less trades, but the percent profit went up, and I think the drawdown went down. 80-20, 70-30 are the go-tos. Turn that off. You don't want to repeat the same signal. You get lots more trades. You might get a bit more net profit, but we're really trying to work on a low drawdown. But there are instances where this can be a good tool. So we've got our base figures there, and what I would typically do now is I'll go through each setting and see if I can improve the figures, and if I do, then I'll go through and check all of the rest, and then I'll go back to the next one down, play around with that, and if I can improve, then I'll go back through and play around with all the rest to see if I can improve them more, and just work my way through until I'm happy with the results. So let's go do a quick check. So I've got buy, 6 confirmations, 12 candle weight, 1% R. Didn't need to change these settings. 4, 8, 12, 16. Typically leave this on 1. Still pretty good at 2. Effectively, this will create less repaint if you go higher, because there is an element of repaint. And if you can get it higher and the results are pretty good, by all means use 2 or higher. I like to use 1. So now we're just left with the ADX. There's a huge bearing on the outcome. So those settings there are looking pretty good. The drawdown's pretty low. We could probably get it a bit lower if we carried on flicking through the settings. But you can see it really enjoyed that period there. These periods here will be picked up on your sell chart. So it's pretty consistent with how many trades it takes. The drawdown's low. You could add some leverage and be pretty confident with those settings. So the last thing to do is to set up your alerts. We know we've got long entry, TP1 and stop loss. You can then go on and add webhooks in these boxes to automate your trading, or you can just put in a message to yourself so you can then act on it manually. So then you just want to add the alerts. Alert function calls only, and that will look after everything for you. So all of those alerts will now fire in automatically just via using that one function. So yeah, that's the way I've been setting them up. I'm really happy with the results I've been getting. Just give it a go. The last thing I would recommend is just carrying out a bar replay as far back as TradingView will let you. And you'll notice that these stats will slightly change. They normally come down a little bit, as the bar replay will give you a truer form of what happened in the real world. And that's it. We'll let this run and we'll have a quick look at the results at the end. Right, so here we have the results of the bar replay. We've got 2.73 max drawdown, 3.6 for profit factor, 83% profitable, and the net profit is 68%. And that is just a raw percent gain, no compounding. So pretty good results there. I'll be happy to run with those. Real quick look at list of the trades. You can see. It doesn't win. Sorry, it doesn't lose too many. So let's just finish bar replay. Back to the overview. Drawdown 2.62, so only slightly greater. The profit factor was lower, and percent profitable was lower, and the net profit was lower, but still very, very good. So that's the importance of actually running a bar replay, just to get a true reflection of what actually happened. In some instances, it will be far worse, and then you know that that's probably not the greatest strategy to run. But typically, it will be around what we just witnessed. So always carry out a bar replay at the end. One thing I forgot to mention previously was playing around with the no squeeze alert at the end. You can see it pulls the max drawdown down by almost a 4%, so that's what we run with. If you wanted to do away with the repainting element, then you just remove the MK oscillator and the VWAP completely, or you just set all time frames to the current time frame, and then you'll have a strategy that wouldn't require a bar replay, because there wouldn't be any repainting issues. So thanks for watching. I hope that's useful and it helps in setting up the MK Cypher backtester.